Yeah, thank you for joining. We are here to talk about Infor's latest release. Specifically, we're going to talk about the multi-view scheduler tool. And more specifically, we're going to talk about all of the features that were released for multi-view scheduler that are going to have an impact in nursing and in the clinical realm. So today I am joined by Brianna. So we'll go through some quick introductions and then we'll dive right into the content. So Brianna.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. Hi, everyone. I'm Brianna Zink. I am Director of Product Strategy here at Infor, focused on workforce management. My background is in nursing. I worked in a variety of settings when I was in the hospital, everything from long-term acute care to critical care, medical surgical, and then the bulk of my time in my area where I was most passionate, I'd say, was emergency department trauma. I have been working with workforce management solutions in healthcare for the last 8 years. And I've been in this role for about 2. So excited to be here with you all today. Max.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Max Fisk. I'm a principal consultant here at RPI. I specialize in multi-view scheduler, the advanced scheduling tool that Infor provides, specifically for clinical use in hospitals and healthcare. I started my career working at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. I worked for the nursing department as a part of a team that supported the scheduling software that was there, which in turn turned out to be part of the scheduling software that we're using today, MBS. Since Johns Hopkins, I've had a few roles. I worked at Infor as in product management. I was also a consultant at Infor for a while as well. And the last 3 years I spent at Deloitte as a consultant for scheduling as well. Yeah, so with our introductions out of the way, we are going to talk about 4 main topics here in regards to the October release for workforce management, specifically MVS. So again, these are targeted towards healthcare. There are a lot more that is in this release, but we're talking pretty specifically about healthcare scheduling here because a bulk of what came out for MVS was for clinical use here, and we think it has a pretty huge impact on the way the system can be used in the healthcare setting. So our 4 topics that we're going to talk about are Census-Driven Staffing Support, updates in that realm for central staffer. We're going to talk about streamlined scheduling. So a lot of minor tweaks and changes that have been made to the scheduling screens that are just going to increase usability and decrease clicks. We're going to talk about enhanced usability for nursing. So our end users, our nurses, when they're interacting with their schedules and viewing their schedules, how that's going to look and feel. And we're going to talk about expedited self-scheduling. So there have been some changes on how self-scheduling how our nursing reacts with self-scheduling and how they are going through and choosing schedules.
And during this, we'll do our best to kind of cover everything that we think may come up as a question. But if you have additional questions that we don't cover, there is a Q&A section within here and you can enter those and we'll do our best to address any that we miss at the end.
Yeah, please do. Thank you. All right, so our first topic here is changes and enhancements that we've made to central staffer, which is going to help out drastically with census-driven staffing support within central staffing models and the central staffer. So here we have a before and after screenshot that has been provided by Infor Development and Product Management, which shows us what the central staffing module looked like before and what it looks like now. And on the after slide on the right, we have a few areas that have been highlighted. And the purpose of including the information in these highlighted areas is to increase visibility into census within this module. And there have been a few ways that this will impact it. But more importantly, it's going to provide managers with accurate staffing updates and records as well. It's going to increase visibility into the census across different teams and departments. And it's also going to grant the capability to the end user to adjust those staffing levels. And then another side note within this screen before we get back into the census is that there were previously some fields and some UI within this screen that could not be controlled via security, which means we would have difficulties hiding certain information within this screen. So the security and the field UI have gotten a bit of an overhaul here so that when we are implementing or if we're updating this screen, we can control much more of who sees what when they log into the system, what they have access to, what they can act on, what they can see, so that we can really enhance this screen specific to who's using it and for what purpose.
And the other piece in here is kind of to Max's first point about we're really working to kind of decrease clicks and decrease time necessary to spend in the system. We've worked really hard to have icons that really kind of elevate that information that you need without having to dive in. So kind of little triangle icons to indicate if you're overstaffed or understaffed per the different job for this shift based on that census that comes in. So really working on just decreasing the time that you need to dig around.
Yeah. All right. And then going along with the central staffing updates here, this is a screen that is new to the central staffer that is going to allow supervisors, charge nurses, nurse managers, whoever's in charge of this information to be able to adjust their census and their staffing updates. So this would be important to allow central staffing offices or other areas within the hospital to get greater visibility into your unit, whatever unit you're managing, and look at those staffing levels and see what might be needed in certain areas, who's over, who's under, who needs help, and who doesn't in this area. So this is a very quick way to adjust those levels for greater visibility into your own unit and for other people to have visibility into yours as well.
And for me, from kind of the nursing world, a big piece of this are two areas in here. One, the reason code. So if you are adjusting your recommended number of nurses or managers or CNAs that you need, you're able to drop down, select a reason why. So those will be really important down the road when you're looking at reporting and future planning. You can kind of look at what are those reasons I'm always staffing up or staffing down or making these adjustments to further refine how you're doing things up front and hopefully prevent those changes down the road. And then also the area for a comment. So we understand that sometimes, especially in healthcare, when it's humans taking care of humans, there's just a lot of unpredictability and a lot of things that can happen. And sometimes something doesn't fit in a simple little drop down, or you feel like you want to kind of document a little more about why you're making a particular decision. We also have the ability to have comments in there as well.
Absolutely. All right, so that brings us to our second topic here, which are a handful of changes that have been made to streamline the scheduling process overall. So features that allow us to make better decisions with our schedules and to look back on decisions that were made and to help, shape the future schedules that we're building. And, also more importantly, to decrease the number of clicks and decrease the amount of time spent in the schedule, making quicker, more informed decisions to build out our schedules and be done with it, hopefully. So the first two things we'll talk about are the ability to swap partial shifts and the ability to delete rotation shifts. So these may seem like smaller things at first, but I think anybody who's used the system for a long period of time will see the benefit in these two things. So in a previous release, there was the ability to split a shift in MVS. And that brought a lot of additional functionality and a lot of reduced clicks. But it did leave one thing that they found that was kind of necessary, which is if you split a shift and part of that shift becomes unassigned or part of that shift becomes assigned to someone else and you need to swap that shift, it will not let you do that previously, whereas now it will, which the ability to split a shift and then swap part of that shift, I think is highly usable in a lot of situations and will help to cut back on additional clicks when it comes to creating new shifts or modifying existing shifts, or just running into the odd error message that you get where a shift that you had split previously that you weren't aware that you did or forgot and attempt to swap out. You'll get that error message that says that, you know, this partial shift cannot be swapped. So getting rid of that and having the ability to swap those is a big thing. And then even bigger would be the ability to delete shifts generated via a rotation. So we have our master rotation and our one-time schedule are our two rotation-based tools that we create schedules with. Previously, further back in releases, you were unable to unassign shifts from employees within the schedule that were assigned these shifts. That has been updated, and we are able to unassign shifts from employee schedules within the ASV without having to return to the one-time schedule or master rotation to make those changes. But you were unable to delete those shifts. So if a shift was generated from a master rotation one-time schedule, you could book it off and mark it as relief not needed to remove it, but there was no other way to remove that from your scheduling screen, where now we are able to delete those shifts from the scheduling screen without having to return back to our rotation tools to make the changes there, which again, just drastically reduces the number of clicks and is going to allow for a cleaner scheduling screen. Hoping to have less unassigned shifts at the bottom of the screen, because if you don't need them, you can just get rid of them. So hopefully, you know, cleaning up that scheduling screen and increasing a lot of usability there.
Agreed. That last piece is going to make it just so much easier to view really what's happening from one screen from that ASV without needing to navigate to a whole nother area or kind of navigate back to that original setup, it feels like. So I think it's just going to allow our users to be so much more active in the actual schedule once it's published without feeling that need to constantly republish or go back and navigate. And then on the partial swaps, I see that as being so valuable to the actual end users, the bedside nurses or the hourly shift staff, because there's so many times where as a nurse, I work 12-hour shifts, and sometimes you just need like 2 hours at the end of your shift to make it to your doctor's appointment or to go watch your child's soccer game. So that gives just so much flexibility to kind of speak to that quality of life and that work-life balance, and will allow our users to be so much more flexible in the system, where I know they're still doing those things today, but right now it's probably a lot of workarounds and a lot of maybe shifting to paper to handle those little one-offs. So it's just making the system so much more flexible to kind of meet our employees where they are in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next bit here is the ability to modify schedules from the timesheet. So if we think about the kind of the progression of our scheduling when it comes to, you know, pay, there's payroll weeks and there's payroll Fridays or payroll Thursdays, or those days where everybody spends a considerable amount of time in the timesheet. If a responsibility of yours is approving timesheets or modifying time, a lot of time is spent in this screen on those days. And because our schedules within MVS are pre-populating these timesheets, depending on policies and depending on you know, things, mandates, we spend a lot of time flipping back and forth between the timesheet and the schedule, because you may have to go back to the schedule to make a change in that schedule that maybe previously you forgot to change, or if somebody swapped, but it was never put into the system rather than doing it through self-service portal. There's a lot of reasons why schedules can change that may not have been updated, or a reason why we have to update the schedule after seeing the details on the timesheet. So a lot of clicks back and forth happen in this, and both the ASV within MVS, the scheduling screen, and the timesheet have allowed for quick clicks, so we can reopen these and go back and forth pretty easily. Still a lot of clicks. So the ability to modify someone's scheduled shift directly from the timesheet is going to save a considerable amount of time as well. When you're in the timesheet, you can see the shift information, and you're able to go in and modify that information directly from the screen. We can see here on the right, it looks like a details edit of the advanced schedule view. So you are going in there and being able to change UDFs, flags, start times, end times, activities, jobs, breaks, skills, all that, able to modify that directly from the shift. Or the previous ability to just simply modify the schedule so that you're able to see what someone was scheduled to work versus what was actually worked. That functionality still remains. You can just update the timesheet if needed, but ability to go in here and change someone's schedule within the timesheet is going to be huge. We also have increased the ability for shift status in this screen. So within the timesheet, you're able to see whether that shift was swapped, whether it was modified, if it was posted to Billboard, increased visibility into what happens to that shift to get it there is visible within this screen as well without having to navigate back to the ASV.
And I think this part's just so valuable. We get the feedback from our customers a lot, which is what drove this piece of functionality. But everything already flowed from the schedule to the time card, but it wasn't going vice versa. And I think this just kind of acknowledges that the day gets so busy and employees will be floated and all these things happen that are still kind of really in the scheduling world, but they need to reflect accurately on both sides. So this will really just streamline that process and make sure that both sides of that world are accurately reflecting what happened and what was actually tracked.
Yeah. Right. And then the last major thing that we want to talk about as far as streamlined scheduling is a new feature altogether, which is Billboard Analytics, the Shift Billboard Analytics. And this is a page or a dashboard or potentially a living report that is going to give users, managers, schedulers way more insight into how folks are interacting with these Billboard shifts. So it is going to be able to tell you things like how many shifts have been claimed versus how many have been posted, when shifts are being posted. So how popular it is for people to pick up shifts on any given day, meaning the day in which they're claiming them, versus the days that are more popular for people to pick up, the days that folks actually want to work. So are folks picking up Tuesday, Wednesday shifts to work? Or are folks interacting with shifts more often on Saturdays or Sundays? So giving a lot more visibility into a lot of different details about the shift billboard and how end users are interacting with that. Giving that information to folks who are posting these shifts is going to grant a lot more access and will allow you to make better decisions about posting these things to get better interaction with your end users as an organization.
And this is an area where this is kind of our first iteration of this, and we have tons of plans to continue building on this and getting deeper into these analytics, looking for trends that, like Max said, can kind of improve from the start how you're planning and building your schedules. So definitely an area we're also open to feedback. If you have certain things where you're just dying to know this about the data behind your shift postings and your shift billboard, please reach out and let us know, and we'll see what we can do to kind of accommodate those requests. And we're happy to talk with you about our future plans as well. But this is definitely an area that you can expect to see continue to build and improve upon.
All right, and that will bring us to our next topic, which is enhanced usability for nurses. So talking directly about our end users here, folks going in to use the self-service portal or the employee portal to view their schedules and interact with their schedules. So we've got a similar before and after screenshot here. And I think the most important things to point out about the end result here is that there has been a ton of additional information included in these employee portals and in these self-service portals. So one of the big strengths of the ASV, and one of the things I have seen be incredibly helpful in all my years of implementing and building out solutions using MVS, is its configurability. And you can make enhancements to certain screens. You can show as much detail or as little detail as you want. within that scheduling screen to help translate and push through certain bits of information to your schedulers, to your managers, to help everyone make better decisions about what they're doing, and to be able to react to things quicker as needed. And something that self-service portal previously did not have is a lot of visibility into the more enhanced fields like flags, user-defined fields, quick clicks. A lot of different things that were visible within the ASV were not things that came through in the self-service portal, where now there has been a lot of increased usability into these additional fields. So if we are implementing or re-implementing or simply just updating these screens, we're able to expose things like flags, UDFs, different fields that we're using currently in the scheduling screen, able to expose those to our end users, if we choose to help nursing and nurses make better decisions about their schedules, get more increased visibility into their schedules. So if there's a particular location they're working, we can show that instead of having to translate that through the shift display label. Increased visibility into, potentially cost centers or, locations and things like that. So there's a lot of information that can be enhanced and customized and sent through into this screen now, which again, we're, hoping will help better decision making for the nurses when it comes to selecting shifts, swapping shifts, and interacting with their schedules in general.
Yeah, I think I wanted to give kind of a couple use cases for this because I know different hospitals have things set up different and scheduled differently, but some of the things that kind of came top of mind to me for these changes are things like visibility into if you're picking up a charge nurse shift or not. So some organizations that we work with specifically have charge nurses, they're scheduled to an actual charge nurse shift, but others kind of schedule them based on those flags or those UDFs that Max was referring to. Or they may wait till the last minute and assign based on who's there. But if you're kind of assigning and using those flags or the UDF fields, previously it hasn't been very clear to those picking up the shifts. And then it's caused a lot of like rebalancing and edits on the back end to make it correct. So being able to display those things. Another great example is maybe you are sending out a sitter shift. I would be a lot more inclined when I was working to pick up a shift as a sitter if I was kind of already through all my shifts for the week and just feeling kind of exhausted. Sometimes that was a nice change of pace. So there's certain fields or kind of qualities or descriptions of a shift that you may want to share with your employees that give them context that might make them want to pick it up or might help them not regret that they picked it up if they knew that what they were picking up. So.
Right, and that's another great point that charge. A lot of organizations do this differently. I know of some organizations that will post shifts specifically excluding charge information. They don't want folks to be able to pick charge shifts. They want everybody to sign up for a particular day, and then, like Bree said, they'll assign charge out that day or soon before that shift begins. Leadership, nurse managers, schedulers will go through the schedule and will select shifts that have already been picked up, normal shifts, and we'll click a little checkbox that says charge or interact with that shift in one way with a user-defined field, a drop-down, a checkbox, anything like that, and we'll mark that shift as charged. And previously we couldn't display that information in the screen, but now we can. So, a checkbox for a sitter shift, like Bree said, or charge or anything like that. So you're able to display a lot more of the updates within this screen, as well as the status and all that. So a lot that can be done here, quite a bit. All right. And then our last big topic here is going to be expedited self-scheduling for nurses, for our end users. So there have been quite a few changes to that, employee schedule screen where the nurses go into their self-service portal and view schedules. This is similar to that, but specifically when they are interacting with the self-scheduling module, when they're going in to select shifts, there's a lot more information and expedited quick clicks and things like that that are going to allow nurses to go through here, or end users to go through here and build their schedules through self-scheduling much quicker and with much better visibility into any rules, minimums or maximums that are applied to them, what shifts they're selecting, details about the shift, so on and so forth. So one of the big things that has been allowed is that if somebody is contracted to a particular shift, contracted to night shift, for example, that nurse or end user is able to select this filter that is going to allow them to specifically view the shifts that they're contracted to work. So instead of viewing and clicking through the available days and seeing if a shift that they are contracted to work is available on those days, they'll get that little star icon on any day that their default shift is available. So they can go through, and any day that has that shift available, they can select it. So rather than clicking into that day, finding that shift and selecting it, they can also just quick click the day itself. So select the day on the calendar that has marked that day. I want that shift, and that will mark through there. So one click to pick up a shift, depending on your default status, and turning on that quick click feature. And then again, increased visibility into shift details in these screens. So giving more information to the nurse about what the shift they're selecting is, and more information about their minimums and their maximums. So just granting better visibility into all of this through a mobile device, through a desktop, through however they're interacting with their schedule, just giving them more information and streamlining that ability to build their schedule. So to help them to make more informed decisions and quicker decisions.
Agreed. I think the key here, kind of back to your initial point you made, Max, is just decreasing the clicks. And this will make it so it feels less of a process like you're digging when you're self-scheduling versus kind of having that visibility up front and quick clicks to get through that and get the shifts that you want to work.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so in the spirit of keeping it quick here and giving everybody time back in their day, that was the last topic. So we have our contact information up here. You can reach out to myself or Bree. There you can also reach out to questions@rpic.com if you have any questions that you think of after we leave here. But I think now we can open it up to any questions that have been posted in the chat. So Bree, do we have any questions that folks have asked?
We have a few coming in. And I think this will work perfect, kind of a 30-minute. We know that especially on the nursing side of the world, you're pretty busy. It's probably hard to commit a full hour. So our goal with this, we also realize that on the nursing side, you probably don't sit down and really read release notes for each release that comes out. So our goal here was to quickly deliver you the things we think would make an impact for you and make a change for you. So hopefully we get it under 30 minutes. We got a couple minutes to go through questions. The first one ties back, I believe, to kind of the central staffing area and the improvements we've made there with the matrix that we talk through. We don't have census information in our WFM system. Where does that information come from? So a lot of the hospitals that we work with have not yet turned on that integration between their source of truth for census, whether it's their EMR or their ADT system, to feed that into Infor Workforce Management. So we do have the ability to import a census. Additionally, if you don't want to do that, say maybe you only have a couple of units that really make those staffing or scheduling decisions based on census, there's also a form. The census workload data is a new form within Workforce Management where users specified based on their security, so probably super users, could go in and update that census. Probably not the most ideal because it'd be a lot of going in and updating that, but that is something where we can set up an import so that that occurs automatically. So you have an up-to-date census displaying in that central staffing area. So if that's something you're interested in and need more support with, definitely reach out to myself or Max and we'll direct you in the right direction. Anything to add to that, Max?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Perfect.
There.
Thank you. Let's see. All right, I'll direct this one at you, I think, Max. You can now view schedule details within the timesheet. Can you view timesheet details from the schedule?
Yes and no. So there now is the ability to, I would say, like quick travel to the timesheet. So if you are in someone's schedule and you are modifying their shift on a particular day, there is ability for you to click on a button there that will bring you directly to that day on that person's timesheet. So yes, you can quickly navigate to the timesheet and back to the schedule. The reason that the timesheet details weren't displayed in the schedule directly are that sometimes there are, I would say, security reasons why someone who may have the ability to go in and view schedules and make changes to schedules, we may not want that same user going into the timesheet and being able to approve or modify timesheets. So there are some organizations where that is not the same person. So there's two different roles, a scheduler and a timekeeper. So in that instance, we, I think the decision was made to make that into a button so that we could quickly navigate to and from. But if a scheduler in that instance did not have timekeeper access, we could hide that feature from them so that they wouldn't be able to navigate to that timesheet. So yes, easily view timesheet information, but not directly in the schedule, mostly by design. That was by design on Infor's part.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. One more I'm going to send your way. If someone is contracted to a particular shift, can they view other shifts that may not be their contracted shifts?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we can, whether it's in the employee's profile or however else we can, mark that an employee is contracted to a particular shift and then have them display that. If an employee isn't contracted to a shift or is contracted to a shift but wants to view something else, there are the ability to filter out certain shifts within the schedule. So I would say an end user could go in and look for a particular shift or times or a particular responsibility or something that they want. And then that's going to help reduce the amount of noise. So that's going to remove all of the shifts that do not match those filter results so that that person can go through and easily see days that the shift that they're looking for is available. So they can go in and make those quick clicks and select the shifts that they want. So yes, they do not need to be contracted to a shift in order to have that same usability and that same feature. That's a great question.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. I think kind of looking at the rest, I think they're all somewhat encompassed in those three that we covered. So if you did enter a question and we didn't get to it, we will review it and follow up with you offline. But I think the rest kind of fall into those similar themes. So I believe we've covered the rest that I'm able to read through right now. Anything else to add before we wrap up, Max?
Not from my side. I think that was fantastic. Great questions. Thank you for the participation. Thanks for joining. And like Bree said, I as more releases come out specific to healthcare, because it's tough to get to those release notes or sometimes hard to find them or dig into them. We're hoping to continue to do this. So if we get participation and if folks are interested in it, we would like to continue giving quick updates on releases when we can.
We're definitely open to feedback on if you found this valuable, any other recommendations you have, because we hope to make this a regular thing. So, all right. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Max.
Thank you all.
Bye.